welcomed you. So first of all, welcome to Bollywood Bubble. And I'd like to know, how are you doing, sweetie?
I am good. I'm well. I finished shooting for something. I mean, Ab Hai, right? So we finished shooting the last few episodes of it only recently. So I've been on a bit of a break, but I mean, break in the sense that I'm on to something else. So just in the middle of meetings, reading, the stuff. And I'm getting a lot of stuff done in my house because my house was leaking all through the monsoon. So I need to get painting and all done, which I can't do it right now. But yeah, so I'm just very busy somehow. I don't know how, but I am.
So, I must also talk about your makeup skills. I just saw a picture of yours in a unibrow for Parivar.
Oh, I thought you were talking about my current makeup skills. I was like,
I'm talking about your unibrow.
This makeup.
So, I just wanted to ask you what and how and when. Tell me about this.
It was, we wanted to make her look, really different from what she was good done. And that was the idea. So a lot of ideas were brainstormed upon and everything. And nothing was working out without looking too gimmicky. And it had to look realistic. So then I asked Sagar, I was like, okay, can I just, really go very cave woman on myself? Because somebody who's when you're in a 10th standard and stuff, you've not been introduced to the wonderful world of the salon and all of that. And I, for one, I was possibly more hairy than my brothers, and I shouldn't be saying it out loud like this, but it's the truth. So all this bouginess and all of this is okay. It's all the privilege that you get later on, but I have gone through that teenage pain of being a hairy girl. So I used to have like a lot of peach fuzz and unibrow and hair all over and everything. So I was like, okay, let me then go in that direction. And Sagar sir was like, okay, if you can make it look realistic, I'll let you. So then I started making my unibrow and everything. I just uncombed my eyebrows and all of that. And Ayushi, my makeup artist, throughout, she was, giving me feedback acha lag raha hai, nahi, ye zyada ho gaya hai, all of that. And then because she's a studious girl, so she must study a lot. It must give her a lot of stress, acne, I thought. So, so I started giving myself all of that marks and all, and it worked out. Everybody loved it. When everybody saw me on set, they were like, oh my God, this looks good. And I would give all the credit to theater makeup for that, because when you're doing theater, you have to fend for yourself. You have to figure out how to do everything and with minimum resources and stuff. So yeah, thanks to that.
You totally looked unrecognizable. I was like, ye Nidhi? Really? So that's really, really cool. But then, also like you just said that, you've been in the theaters, and I'm not very well versed with what happens there, but I know that they teach you they start teaching you with 9 emotions, Noras, they say, if I'm not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 9 different emotions, and we all have one comfort emotion that, we're always ready with. Which one is that for you?
Mm-hmm. I think for me, Hasya would be that, because I'm generally, and even if I'm not in a mood to be goofy, I do see the humor in things in general. Even if I'm in a bad mood, in hindsight, I will know that this is funny. I may not laugh at it at the time, but yeah. So I think that's my general.
Also Nidhi,
default mode.
So apart from that, tell me, it's been 7 months, and you've been a person who'd like to work, who's been workaholic and all that, and then 7 months down the line being at home, how cool has it been for you?
Well, the thing is that, to be very honest, I live alone. So this is pretty much my life when my friends are busy or, I don't really have to go out for work and stuff. I'm just at home the whole time. I mean, the only difference was that if I wanted to take off and like just, go away somewhere, I couldn't do that. So that was the only thing that didn't happen. But like being at home and figuring out how to live with yourself alone was something that I was somehow in practice of since past 2 years. I've been like living alone. So I was pretty okay. I think the problem was that the news that was coming from outside, that was very overwhelming, and that you couldn't deny because it gave you anxiety and stress, and you worried about your loved ones. So that really did, yeah. I mean, that made me a bit anxious, and I I do get anxious. I'm a little bit too sensitive sometimes, so I do get into this loop of overthinking the bad stuff. But the good thing was that I have a very patient family, so they would listen to my rants. So like, and great, lovely bunch of friends. So yeah, so I was good that way, like taken care of.
Okay, so we are going to be talking to you about what do you eat in a day, and that's what I begin with now. And then moving forward, I'll talk to you a little bit more about Parivar, since it's a very interesting concept. How do you start your day? What's the first thing that you intake?
I'm currently on a nutrition plan, and I have a very awesome but very brutal nutritionist, Ashish Panchal. So I am. I usually on a normal day I would start my day with water, basic, just a couple of glasses of water, or maybe sometimes squeeze in a lemon or something, or ginger, however I'm feeling. But currently, I start my morning with methi water, which is not very appetizing, but I have to have methi water first thing and some lukewarm water, and then I can have my coffee with half an apple. That's my
Hmm.
plan
Tell
for the
me,
whole world.
uh,
Yeah.
tell me, what's the weirdest thing that you've ever eaten?
I think I had kangaroo meat in Australia. That was weird because kangaroos are so cute. I never thought I'd eat it. It was quite good. So that was weird. And I think I had crocodile meat also, but I'm not too sure. I don't remember. It was a while
Hmm.
ago, so
Hmm.
I don't remember.
Interesting.
But yeah, I tried a couple of different meats, and yeah, they were all.
Tell me, what's your favorite food combination? What is it that you would like to have? Like, if that was the only choice that you had to eat for the rest of your life.
For the rest of my life, huh? It would be, oh God, it would sound so basic, but dal, chawal, aloo. Anything to do with chawal. So I love, my mother makes this one particular chicken, which is, I mean, yes, homemade chicken and dhaba chicken is supposed to be very staple, but my mother's is, I don't know, there's something about it. So her chicken curry with rice is my favorite Sunday meal. It used to be a ritual in our house. Like on Sunday, she would cook either this chicken and rice, or whoever wants chapati, or she would make mutton pulao or something. So it's just such a Sunday thing for me, chicken curry and white rice. So her chicken curry, or like a very basic lovely yellow dal, with nice tadka, nice plain white rice, and some this. So we make this aloo in my house, and it's a very North Indian thing. We call it, my daddy used to call it kadwe aloo, and from my Nanehal we call it samosa wale aloo. So it's a really yummy potato bhaji which I love.
You make me
I can eat it for the rest
hungry.
of my life.
You make me
I
hungry.
know it's now I'm also hungry. It's so yummy. I can't wait to have it again.
Hmm. Also, to know a little more on the food part is, tell me of your favorite restaurant and a cuisine that you really like.
I love Mexican food. I love sushi. Uh, in Mumbai, my favorite restaurant, like the restaurant I frequent the most currently, is actually Tanjore, because I mean, not currently, before we went into lockdown.
Yeah.
I used to go to Tanjore a lot because it has really good food and amazing drinks. So you can go there, you can just have drinks and some nice appetizer. And like when you say appetizer, like they have the best gunpowder idli I've ever had in my life.
Really?
And I love South Indian food. I mean, I love food. So good, any cuisine I love. So they have really good, yeah, they have great South Indian food, and you can have great finger food. And if you want like a full on meal, then they have some amazing meals. And there's something called railway chicken curry, which anyway is a nostalgic thing for me because my father was, he worked in the railways, he was in the administration. I mean, he's a doctor, but like then he moved to the administration. So railway chicken curry has such a ring to it. I was like, oh, okay. And now I'm hooked to it. I love it. It's so good.
Hmm.
I
Okay.
also I love Italian food as well. So I mean, I love food.
Total
Generally,
foodie, huh?
I
Total foodie.
yeah, absolute. I love food.
So
Food
I'm
is
gonna
so
ask you.
essential.
I'm gonna ask you one last one with the food thingy. Since you told me you're a big foodie, tell me, how do you behave or react when you don't get food on time?
I call it hangry. Hungry and angry at the same time. I call it hangry. Yeah, but and it happens too often. I get hungry very quickly because I mean, ever since I've kind of, I tried to be a little healthy now in life.
Hmm.
So but I don't compromise on my food at all. Like I will eat it, but it's just that I eat it, a certain way and certain portions. So I get hungry very quickly. Like every 2 or 3 hours I need to be fed. So I'm like a child.
Aw, how cute. So basically, you're gonna be a good partner at eating food. So next time we have an interview together, I'm gonna get some food. We'll eat and
We
talk.
should go and eat food. Yeah, my God, it'll be the best interview.
I must keep this in my notice and remember this. Okay, coming to the point, I want to talk to you about Parivar. So this is
Yeah.
slightly about embracing your probably you could say some things that you lack in, probably dysfunction or whatever you call it, things that you're
Yeah.
not the best at, but usko embrace karna. This is what you guys are showing, but honestly, like regular people, they need to know more of it because people kind of do not relate to being happy with the things that they lack with. They fall on confidence. So what is it that you want to
Yeah.
say?
I think it's extremely essential to know that there's one thing that you cannot change. You cannot change your birth story. You are born in the circumstances that you're born, and you're born to the family that you're born, or not. I'm including everybody, not just people who have families. So you cannot change your origin, but you always have a choice on how you look at it, and what direction you want to take your life in.
Right.
And that is completely in your hands. If you want to sit and cry about it, nothing will be ever enough, you know. And if you want to make the best of what you have, and you want to envision a decent enough life for yourself, then there's nobody who can stop you. So I am a very firm believer of somebody, no matter where you come from or how much you have to be, first of all, you have to be very accepting of your roots. You have to be, and you have to love it. I mean, there's a reason why there's so many, and there are billions of galaxies, and there are, I don't even know, countless number of organisms and life out there.
Yeah.
Between that, you have been given this one life. So you might as well enjoy it. You don't know what's going to happen once you're gone anyway. So you might as well make the most of what you have. So that is my philosophy in life also, that uh, crying about what you had and what you don't have is absolutely pointless. Yes, you can feel all the emotions that you do, and you should acknowledge it, but you should also want to steer yourself in the direction that you admire. So that is, confidence is something that you develop along the way. Or I mean, I'm somebody who's not confident. I deal with a whole lot of self doubt, and my profession is such that it puts you in self doubt. Even if it doesn't come from you, it may come from someone else. That
Absolutely.
judgment, it can, and we are privy to judgment all the time. We are vulnerable to it all the time. So, and I'm not somebody who's very confident. All through my childhood, my school, everything, I had to really brave through this crippling anxiety of, what if I make a fool out of myself? Because I've always been a dancer, but I've always had to kind of go out of my way and push myself, no matter how scary it was. Because I think somewhere deep within, my desire to perform was so much bigger than the fear that I felt, that my desire would kind of, overpower, and I would muster the courage to say things out loud to people or ask for an opportunity. And that's how it has been always, all through my childhood also. And even I came to Bombay at the age of 17, and I came with nothing. I mean, my parents have always worked very hard, and we are three of us, two brothers, one sister, so three siblings. So we are a family of five, and our parents have always given us every single thing that they could. We had to learn to share. I'm from middle class family. Both my parents were government officers, and very hardworking people. So we had to respect what we had, and make the most of that. So I did not come to Bombay with much, or that confidence that I have a good backup. So everything had to be done, from scratch. But somehow I think I just kept telling myself that I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. So maybe that's what it is.
But also, Nidhi, like you just said that there are people who pull you down. That there's a good set of people who will always push you up in life, and there are going to be bullies around. Like the character that you're playing has a unibrow. What if there's somebody who comes and makes fun of you and just call you names? How would a person deal with that?
I had a unibrow. I just told you, all through my school, I had a unibrow.
So certain people come and make fun of you and call you names and tell you things.
No, I was initially I was bullied a little bit, but it was never actually for my looks. Somehow it was, I don't know, people are bullies, and they like to kind of throw their weight upon you. But I don't know, I never fought the bullies. I always kind of met them head on. So I still remember I was in kindergarten. I think I was in junior KG or something, and this girl, she had a problem with me. She just came, and she would just, those people, they just need some beef, like they just have some beef with you, and so she would just come to me and she'd be like, I'll tell my uncle and he will kill your family. And I was like, what? And I went, yeah, I don't know why. She just kept doing, and she was my age. Imagine a child that young had that rage. And I don't know. And I mean, now as an adult, I look at it and I feel like, okay, poor thing. She must see this at home or something. I don't know where it came from. But I was barely 4 or 5 years old. And she would say such mean things to me. And at that time, if someone said that to you, you would think it's true, right?
Right.
You would think that she is capable of that. And I would howl. I was like, oh my God, she's going to get my entire family killed. Somehow it so happened that my parents were always very busy. Both of them were working and all of that. So they never had too much time to indulge these things, but they always had enough patience to kind of hear us out. So, my mom didn't have time to mollycoddle me, but she would be like, talk to her. You don't take her seriously. What, and I'm a 4, 5-year-old kid. So then the next day she said the same thing to me. And then I just started ignoring her. And then she stopped. I just started ignoring her and she stopped. And then one day I just was nice to her. And then we, I think, became friends also.
That's a crazy memory to recall. I mean, you still remember.
Yeah, I can never forget it. I can never forget it because I cried so much thinking she might just kill my entire family, Yeah, and I don't even know why she would say that to me. So weird.
So Nidhi, also as an actor.
Sorry, to answer your question, I still haven't answered your question. Yeah. Yes, there will be bullies, and they might bully you they can bully you for anything. A bully will just find reasons to bully you for. It could be your looks or what you did or what you ate or what you wear or anything. The point is, first of all, nobody becomes a bully because they're like that by birth. It's circumstantial. It happens to them, and they turn into those people. So it's very essential to know that the only way to deal with those people is actually don't deal with them. You
Hmm.
know, uh, don't indulge. And if it goes out of hand or whatever, don't take it lying down. You have to stand up for yourself. So these things will happen, and it's the part of life. There are all sorts of bullies. There are emotional bullies who will, like, say things to you in the form of jokes or taunts, and that they know it hurts you, but they will still say it. So people do it, and you have to learn how to deal with it. And life teaches you. You don't have to really. There's no classes you can go to and learn this. This is something
Hmm.
that life will teach you automatically.
You being such a young girl,
I
you're
was bullied a lot for my weight, though. I was bullied a lot for my weight. So I used to laugh with them.
that's a nice idea, just laugh it off.
I mean, it hurt me, but then I think also again because my family, they're very intellectual people. They paid a lot of attention to what you are as a person and what books you're reading and what kind of uh, ideas you have, so much more that they never made me feel like I am what I look like.
Hmm. Hmm.
I am what my thoughts are. I am the books I'm reading and possibly the movies I'm watching. So somewhere I kind of, even as a child, I had enough intelligence to understand that, okay, you're making fun of me, but it's okay, because that's what it is. That's who I am.
So Nidhi, being a young girl, there's so much of maturity that comes out of you. I'm gonna ask you one question with regards to that also. That being an actor, I know that a person has to completely let go of what their real emotions are at the moment and be in the character that they have to play. As regular people, if we are hurt or affected by something, we can't let go of that. But being an actor, you have to throw it away and come in your own character that you have to play. How do you do that transition? Because it takes a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a really nice question. It's just when I think it's just a very automatic switch that when you know that you're going to play this character, you begin to think like the character, and for the time you have to kind of manipulate your feelings. And I guess that's what makes you a good actor or a bad actor. You can be having the best time, but you may have to cry for a character multiple times. You may be very, very happy in your real life and nothing to cry about, but for a character, you have to. And the other way around, you could be going through hell at life and you have to make people laugh, and be a clown. And it requires a whole lot of manipulating your feelings, and that is what we do. That's the job, and it's a very bizarre job, but yeah, we are paid to manipulate our feelings.
Interesting.
Yeah,
But
it does
doesn't
take
it
a it
pile
takes
up
it does.
why doesn't things
So
pile up? Yeah.
yeah, so to answer that aspect of your question, yes, of course it does. And especially when you have to resurface bad memories, it definitely does. And it needs to dial out of your system. And with time, you also figure out how to do that. It sometimes lingers for a bit, and sometimes you are able to. So now I'm somebody that I know that I need to kind of. Uh, I think I just let it taper out of me, and it works. You know, we are a yeah, whole we're a bunch of very complicated people. That's why people either hate actors or love them.
But then it's also said that actors are very sensitive. How true is that?
I mean, that's the job. You have to be somebody who's an empath. You have to be somebody who understands the other person's anger or joy or stupidity. You have to be somebody who understands other people. So, of course, you have to be sensitive. And that's the one quality you need in order to be an empath. You have to be sensitive. So of course actors are sensitive, and if uh, I think the demarcation of a good actor to a bad actor would be, and if I may say so myself, would be whenever I have watched an actor and been extremely affected by what they did, which the queen of all, is Meryl Streep. If she did not understand the depth of the emotion, for example, in a Sophie's Choice, or the pain that her character is going through, as opposed to if she did not understand the importance of being as stoic as she was in The Devil Wears Prada. If she did not understand how deeply that particular person would feel, she would not be able to emulate she does on screen. So, of course, you have to be sensitive, and it does take a toll. But you have to surround yourself with the right people. You have to yourself with the right source. Like for me, meditation is something that can an absolute turnaround for me. And I was introduced to meditation very early on by my mother, because she would do yoga as a teenager as well. And I'm just generally by nature, I'm kind of spiritual. So I would meditate a lot, and now my brother has kind of put me in a practice, because he's a art of living teacher. I mean, he's an IT professional, but he's also an art of living teacher. So yeah, so meditation does help a lot.
Hmm. Also, well, lastly, without taking a lot of your time, because I was told that you have another interview at 1. So, just to be relevant, the craziest reality show of them all, Bigg Boss, is coming back. Do you watch it? How excited are you? Are you ever, if given a chance, would ever want to be a part of it? Tell me.
Okay, so here's a confession. I don't watch it because I think there's enough drama in my life and I can't deal with that. I just can't. But I have very close friends and very, very intelligent people who love watching it, because they're like, oh, this is a class in human psychology. They sit and watch. It's the best thing. So I have watched a couple and it's very amusing to me. And when Every Daily Girl in the World had come out, I think continuously for 2 or 3 years, I got called to come on the show, if I would like to come on the show. But that's not my thing. I couldn't. I would just be thrown out in the first round. I can't deal with it. I would tell them, please throw me out. I can't do this.
But I liked when you said that I have enough drama in my life to, actually land up.
I have my own Bigg Boss going on.
How lovely. Also, tell me, when do we meet again? What is it that you're coming up with that, would give us a chance to speak to you again?
I am shooting for 2 new series. One is the second season of a series that I've done before, which is Apharan. So I'll be shooting for that. And I'm shooting a new series called Dark Seven White, which the shoot will commence in like less than a week now. So yeah, hopefully after that we'll get to chat again.
Super. So, I'm going to just say that all the best for these 2 new thingies that's coming up, and waiting to hear from you again. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions. It was lovely talking to you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.